Hey everyone, welcome back to Rally Caps, a podcast for the creative entrepreneur building a business for the long haul.
And I have a mustache now.
Today, we are actually splitting our last episode of 2021 into two parts. The first part, a little recap of our favorite moments from this first year of the show. Very exciting.
The second part is our plans, plural,
Yes.
for 2022 and season 3.
Yeah. Very excited. We're going to get into all of that in today's episode. But let's start actually for this first part for kind of going back on the moments of the year. I'm just going to really quick read off every guest that we interviewed this year.
Okay.
Not all of our episodes. We had a couple standalone, just the two of us.
Yeah.
These are all of the people that we interviewed. I'm going to just go down the line, 1 through 25.
25 people.
25 guests.
That's
and
nuts.
This is, I think, our 30th or 31st episode on the year.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Start to finish, and we're going to start there and then kind of go through some of our favorite moments that come to top of mind from that. So, starting from the top, first guest episode, Ben Heisch, Mango Street, Jack Coyne, Mike Williams, John Stouffer, Chris Chu, Sam Elkins, Danny Gewirtz, Caleb Wojcik, John Branch IV, Jesse Driftwood, Eric Floberg, Stephen Schultz, Niles Duran, and Caleb Babcock in the same episode, Carrie Carlquist, Jai Long, Sabria Floberg, Ryan Brown, Mark Spooner, Rob Bilt, Creative Club Chicago, that's our studio, Todd of Clever Supply Co., Alicia Tova, Ben Ramos, Katie Wilson.
Wow. And Emily.
And Ben and Emily.
Insane.
What a year.
And I was going to mention this in the beginning, is that we came out of the gate rip roaring.
Strong.
Really excited.
Yes.
And then as most years happen, doing lots of things. So season 1, crazy, all these guests. Season 2, we were kind of like, how do we do this?
Season 2, we wanted to be probably double the amount of episodes.
And then it didn't happen.
It just didn't happen.
But I don't know. I feel like it's the mantra of my life is like, don't kill yourself to make that happen. Like, great. Season 1 was the way it was. Season 2, we couldn't.
It was
avoid,
what it was.
Right. We couldn't.
It was still an awesome season.
It was. And it was cool to dabble in episodes where we were just talking and gives us an idea of, okay, well, maybe that can be sort of the structure from time to time, moving forward in different ways. We still want guests.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Plenty.
We're
going to get into that later, though. Yeah.
Eric, don't jump the gun.
Eric, don't you dare. Don't you dare. We talked about this.
Hurt you.
Hey, I will knee you in your knee.
So
favorite moments from those guests that I just listed.
Well, it's cool because I mean, this is a bad admission, but I'm like, forgot that I had my wife as a guest.
Yeah.
And then you weren't there, but it was just
me
interviewing her, but it was great. It was like therapeutic, and it was really cool to have Tom in and to have us interviewed, which was really cool.
I
see
loved
that
those
someone
episodes.
seeing that there's value in reaching out. Now we have a great relationship with him.
Quick shout out, Tom Boyd.
Yes.
The nicest human on the planet. He has his own podcast called Creators Are Brands. Go check that out. Go check him out. Bonus footage on Twitter and on Instagram. He's the
incredible
best.
stuff.
We love him so much.
So there were those. There were definitely individual moments where like I distinctly remember. One of the best things early on was when Rachel from Mango Street talked about how never in the history of creation, artistry, have people needed to make the amount of things they're making in the short window of time that we are quote unquote required to make them to appease like the algorithm gods.
Yep. Yes. That was maybe the most impactful line of the year for me because it felt so relatable. And also, I think has only gotten more true as the year has gone on because we actually recorded our episode over a year ago at this point. We did it before the start because that was one of the batch episodes that we did. So it's only become, I think, more relevant just having to create so frequently, so quickly, be on top of so many things, so many channels of information coming into you, trying to output at the same frequency. It just felt like it encapsulated kind of that overwhelming feeling that it gives you having to keep up with that kind of stuff. And in that is a really nice reminder to give yourself grace and to not always feel like you have to keep up with the Joneses and make sure that you're doing all the right things at the right times and saying all the right things and making all the right videos and all this stuff.
We got to put that in practice with Rally Caps this year.
We did.
Got meta.
Yeah.
And it's not the end of the world. Like we're still very excited about what's going to happen in the future. And maybe there will be another season where we have to dial it back.
Yep.
But it's all going to be based on, like how much time can we dedicate to it? You have to be honest with yourself, like monetarily, as opposed to other things that you're doing creatively that are paying the bills and are really successful. But it's never anything I would want to cut off, because these relationships and these conversations we're having with people and the amount of engagement we're having with each other and understanding really foundational ideas for our own careers, I think is, I don't want to stop doing it. It's very therapeutic. It's very good to just sit down in a very busy schedule and think and hash out all these things.
And I think in some of the batches of weeks where we weren't posting episodes in the most recent months, those are actually really good times to sit back, reflect, reevaluate, and then get a better plan of action for next year, which we're talking about in the second half of this episode. Favorite moment from me that came up, much less deep and less profound, but I read Mark's name, couldn't forget about his hysterical wedding story.
I thought about bringing that one up too.
That one is just still the funniest wedding story that I've heard to this day. The the whole, I mean, he delivered it so well. It was hysterical. We were with him shooting a wedding that weekend in Massachusetts all together. Like, it just felt like it was a very special episode to record with him. And that is still one of my favorite moments of any episode. And we made a whole separate video. So if you want to listen to the full one, you can. But also we have like a 4-minute cut of that on YouTube that you can go watch. It's amazing. Yeah.
Jack Coyne was another one where, like infamously, he worked with Casey Neistat, and the whole story with him working with Casey was that he mopped floors, or he like said, I'll do anything to work around you guys. I'll mop floors or whatever. And we asked him, like, is that something that people should do? He's like, well, I don't think people really need floors being mopped, but what is your proverbial floor mopping scenario? And that's where I think of people like Tom Boyd, where he was just like, hey, how can I be of service to you guys? I want to be connected to you. And it's kind of comical now, because he's like, he feels like a really big deal. So also that's a lesson in humility too, of like, don't assume that you're just so much better than anybody else with connections or whatever that you have. But giving that value can lead to so much more, especially with like you and the relationship you've built with Tom, and helping produce with him, and the connections that we'll inevitably have with him moving forward, especially for our podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was I liked that one a lot. Making that thumbnail for that short was also really fun. Yeah, I loved that a lot. Chris Chu came to mind as well. I think we actually did make a truncated clip of this, but one of the lines from his episode was, he said, I think this is almost verbatim, he was reflecting on his it was a birthday video that he had made when he turned, I believe, 24. And one of the things that he reflected on was that he wished that he realized like that he was in the middle of what he wished for back then. And that really stood out to me, because I think so often, kind of almost touching on like tying it in with what Rachel had said about like producing so much so frequently, it's easy to get caught up in the rat race of everything that we're doing. And him saying that of like, hey, remember what you used to wish for. Remember that where you are right now is a place that you were not previously and maybe dreamed of and didn't even think was attainable. That made such a huge impact. And that was something that he did before he even got big on YouTube. Like, he's grown exponentially since then, since that video. And it still stands out to me. It's a very grounding thing for me to look back to and listen back to. So thanks, Chris, for saying it.
Seriously.
But
it's
that one
me right now.
Yeah, like it's just it really is one of those things that's like there's just so much happening in the world, always in our careers, in our lives, and sometimes you just have to stop and think like, hey, I'm in the middle of doing something that I wished for, that I hoped for, that I dreamed for.
Totally.
Take a sec to appreciate that and like really, really value what that means, where you are right now, and then start to kind of like vision cast and dream for the future.
It's great because there's so many things I forgot about all the conversations we had. So I really appreciate looking at the list and just seeing, I mean, I feel really accomplished together in having this many conversations, but knowing that psychologically a lot of these things hit, even if we can't remember them in the moment. Two more that stick out to me or Carrie's episode where we talked about it being okay to have a season in business of high intensity, knowing that getting through that season will give you much more comfort on the other side, whether that be doing the things you want to do or financially more comfortable or whatever that is. And I experienced that full blown after we had that episode with her, with producing my course this year, and knowing like what opportunities that has now afforded me moving forward. And like I lived that for sure. Now it's made me realize I don't ever want one that intense ever again. So I've met a new threshold of what I'm capable of, and realized then it ties into the next thing that we talked about with Jai Long, was he went farther than I would have, like I would probably ever go, but he was just like, drain your bank account and pay other people to build the things you want to build. And I'm like, oh man. And I challenged it right away. I was like, but I have children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, how do I apply that concept to my life? How do I make myself more uncomfortable by investing in other people to build the things that I'm building?
Yes.
A question we need to ask ourselves going into next year.
And you did that this year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. With paying you guys for helping with the classroom, you, Braxton, Mike, and then Braxton throughout the whole year, well, starting in June with editing.
Almost right after Carrie's episode, actually.
Yeah.
It was pretty shortly after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's amazing how it triggered that action out of you.
Totally.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. It was like what Jai said specifically, like helped me make that move.
Yes. Sorry.
And
I
think
meant
about it.
Jai.
You're good.
Yes.
But
yes,
like, I think literally we got off that conversation. Braxton had just rolled into Chicago and I was like, hey, wait.
Yeah.
Brax.
Hey, you edit videos.
Right. And he's like, sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. You're really good at what you do.
Yeah.
Do you want to come do that with me?
Yeah.
Kind of thing? Yeah. Man, this is not actually a podcast specific moment. It didn't happen in Rally Caps, but I do remember vividly, this ties into it. It's because we did an episode with Jesse Driftwood that a month later, you and I were in New York City together, and we happened to pull up Jesse's video that he published that first day that we were there.
Oh, yeah.
And his intro included a segment from our episode with him about him talking about TikTok, which was the wildest thing. Because you and I were both just like listening to it, watching it casually, getting ready for the day, like getting dressed and everything. And then we hear this like music, and it flashes back to our voices talking to him. And it was the craziest moment. I fully geeked out.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
You're like, how's this real life?
Yeah, I was like, I've watched Jesse's videos for years, and that's my face in it now.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah, those moments it's crazy when those things happen. And seeing it come full circle from it just being an idea in your brain to start something, you actually, first of all, like landing a guest of that magnitude, talking to them, having great conversation, building relationship, and then seeing something like that come across and just being like, my face is on the screen because I actually acted on something. And I didn't just sit back. I actually was proactive and made this thing happen. And now I'm like seeing it pay back in dividends, however you see that as paying back, whether that be growing your own business, growing your own brand, or just strictly building a relationship with someone that you really value, who you've valued for a while, who brings value to you. It's at the more and more I'm in like the creative YouTube world, the more and more we're in it as well. It's just becoming more and more mind blowing to see the kind of people we are talking to.
Yeah.
That we never thought we would ever have a conversation with.
Not in a million years.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, being able to talk with Danny too was so much fun.
Danny Gerberts.
Yeah. Because we ended up just laughing for 2 hours. I mean, my face hurt at the end of that episode because it was just goofing around, and it just humanized him so much.
Totally.
I was like, this guy is just like the coolest. It'd be amazing to talk with him. And then we actually get the opportunity to, and I'm like, you're just like another guy, like in the best way. Like you're not this intimidating, egotistical person. You're just the most normal, laid back guy.
Because you always had that fear, because clearly his online
know.
presence is so not that. And then you always have this deep seated fear in your brain. Like, what if in real life, they're just not that character or whatever? And it's so reassuring to like have real interactions with people and be like, oh, that's amazing that you are exactly how you are.
He was the sweetest. Like it was just I think we talked with him the longest of any guest just because we were just like clicking and making jokes and just having the best time.
I learned from him how to be a better podcast guest because he asked us questions.
He did.
And I thought that was really cool. And anytime I've been asked to be on a podcast, I've been really intentional about doing that as well.
Yep.
Because how much more does that communicate the philosophy that we have of bringing others into the fold? Where it's like someone might value what I have to say on a podcast and the words that I, bring to the table. But then how can I effectively communicate that I care about other creators as well, or other entrepreneurs as well, by asking and being interested in what they're doing also and relating to them and humanizing myself, right? Because it could be very easy for wherever you are in the scope of clout, if you will, to be really intimidated by people who are higher on the social ladder than you are. But how wonderful is it to experience it from people who we see as above us to then find interest in who we are and what we're doing.
It was the best.
Yeah.
That's you said it perfectly. That's exactly how I felt going into that call. I was like, I really like your work. Like, you do really cool stuff. Right. You're a big deal. Like, this is awesome. And then immediately put me at ease of just like, so kind, so welcoming, asking questions, everything that you said. Yep. It was the best. And it was such a cool experience. And we just love you, Danny. That's all.
Having relationships like that, though, like we just did a huge commercial project with Creative Club, and it got us thinking like, oh man, what if we have another big budget like this again with a brand? Like, we could effectively hire someone like Danny to be a DP for a project.
Totally.
Where it's like, we do have distinct roles for this project. We have enough budget to hire people. We could fly him in. That could very well be something we do in the future. And most likely, if you have no relationship with someone at all and just cold email them that, I don't know if it would necessarily work out. But I would feel pretty confident that he would at least be very interested in doing that now, That's
a soft ask, Danny.
Oh, yeah. Please?
Who knows? Yeah. Do you want to? That'd be fun. We have nothing specific in mind, but
do you want to DP a project?
Just generally speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a good year.
So great.
It was such a good year, man.
Proud of you.
Proud of you. That Creative Club episode was really fun, too.
It was very cool. I think a lot of people really enjoyed hearing all of our different perspectives of how Creative Club started, how you've been brought into the fold. And what's really exciting, and I don't mean to leak a bunch of I kind of mean to leak new info. I think a lot of people in here next year want to start their own channel and get their own channel going. Gene has already done so.
Correct.
Gene's already over 1,000 subscribers. You have every intention of starting your own channel. I'm not slowing mine down anytime soon. Braxton's going to start a film channel. Like, we've had ideas about becoming a new like creator house, if you will, but not
like a TikTok
not a
house?
slimy one. No. Not like, if there's a spectrum of creator homes or incubators, if the TikTok ones are here, we're on the opposite side of the spectrum.
If the slimy ones are here.
I don't mean to call people out. I'm sorry.
You know what I thought of though when you said that? Random again, but Jesse Driftwood, his feeling his way through life. If something's sharp, I don't touch it. Oh, it's slimy in here.
Soft and cushy.
Yes. What a great year.
Really good.
Oh,
really
my
exciting.
gosh.
It's fun to be in the same place now. Now we can do stuff like this.
It's so much easier now.
Well, in Creative Club specifically, we just switched this room into the gear room / shooting room. And now we can build sets like this. Dude, the whole conversation we had leading up to this episode, we were talking about, like, think about all the things that we accomplished via the conversations you and I were having at this time last year. And we wanted this one to happen much earlier, but just the fact that we can have Rally Cap sitting in the back here with like an actual logo, us building out a set. Now, this isn't a permanent
us
set.
Sitting in the same space together also, because a year ago I didn't live in Chicago.
Right.
I had no plans to.
And it was a lot harder to produce the podcast without being in the same place.
Yeah, which is how we've done the majority of it so far, which is insane.
So that's a good segue into part 2 of this episode.
Yeah.
You didn't have anything else? Okay. So,
no. Hey, thank you to all of our guests.
Oh, yeah. We forgot to say that at the beginning.
You're all absolutely incredible. Thank you for being on the show, for giving us your time, for giving us your thoughts, your wisdom.
taking a gamble on spending time with us.
Yeah, we could have been two idiots, and we still are.
We're very encouraged by all of the responses all of you guests had to us. Just saying how much you enjoyed being on the podcast was very encouraging. And then even just like Spotify Wrapped happening recently, and so many people like putting our podcast on their top 5 listened. It was like, what?
Yeah, like you showed up, you actually listened. Spotify Wrapped is the arbiter of truth in a very personal way. And the fact that we showed up in your Wrapped is insane.
Yeah, next
that actually
to like
proves that you
Peter
listened
McKinnon
to us.
and stuff.
Yeah, what the heck? That was the craziest one, was us at the top, and then it had like Colin and Samir.
Yeah.
Peter McKinnon and Maddie Hapoya and a bunch of other creator shows. And we like it's insane. So thank you. Seriously, to the guests, to the fans, to everybody.
Yeah, especially to all of you who listened. That might be a stereotype for a podcast at the end of the year to say thank you to all the guests, but at the end of the day, like, you're our motivation to keep doing it, and your response in telling us and affirming that we're providing anything meaningful means the world to us, and lets us know that this isn't just a dumb idea that was poorly executed, but that it's actually worth our time to like bring value into people's lives this way.
Yep.
So what is happening next year?
So part 2, next year. This is almost like the future of Rally Caps.
Yeah.
Again, if you will. So next year, 2022, we're going to start the year off with season 3. We're just going to call it season 3 to kind of start a new year.
Because there's no rules.
There's no rules. We do what we want here. As we already said, season 2 was less volume than we had originally anticipated.
Less planning.
A lot more off the cuff. It was an insane amount of other client-facing work and personal work that we had to get done.
What can we offer of value without a ton of planning and just like off the cuff kind of just having an episode?
So while we didn't have as much volume, it also gave us the time to really map out a lot of the stuff that we can now execute on for 2022, which includes the continuation of guest episodes, and also exploring new maybe video essay type episodes where we're doing a little more narrative work, maybe shorter form, but more information packed into them, doing topics that are kind of relevant to the whole creator economy, if you will, and also just kind of like maybe the world at large. Who knows?
This is how we talk about creativity, like across the board, though, is taking, you think of like a Johnny Harris and a Colin and Samir, and like mixing those two worlds. Like, what would it look like for us to do a narrative piece about creator economy stuff? Basically taking some of the content that Colin and Samir do, but doing it in a way where it's like, we did this research and cut to B-roll, where it might be more YouTube facing content, but still very enjoyable to listen to with sound design and just stuff that we're proud of. Like, I think I said to you about a month ago when we were talking about this stuff, I was like, what stuff can we make that instead of just being like, oh, this is a really exciting guest and good conversation to share, excited to hit publish, but rather going, I'm so proud of this piece that we made. I can't wait to share it with the world, publish. You know?
Yeah. So those are going to be really fun. I also, my favorite channel on YouTube is The Nerd Writer. I tell you that all the time. I don't know how often I speak about it on the show, but those video essay style, he Evan is his name. He's a genius, and I eat that stuff up so quickly. They're usually like average of 10 minutes, and they're just so well researched. They're beautiful to watch, but you can also easily listen to them and learn a ton along the way. And those will be really fun to tackle together, I think, because it's just not something we've done before. So video essay type material, guest-facing episodes, and even a little bit of educational content in there as well.
So how to start a podcast, tools that you need to be podcasting, that kind of YouTube-facing content that is also good for audio listeners. But I think really trying to be more intentional about YouTube-facing content, where it's, you know, a chance to reach a bigger crowd and kind of bring them into the fold in the realm of what we're doing. Outside of that, because then like out of that could birth consultation services from us. And I know we've chatted about that on the pod before. But then on top of that, trying to get meta, and we've discussed this a bit in previous episodes, of what kind of business or physical product can we make on Rally Caps to sell, not even just to people who listen, not just merch, but something physical that could be sold to literally anybody. And then bringing all that information back to the podcast and talking about the performance of said company and how we are growing it, how we're scaling it, if it is a success, if it isn't, and making content surrounding that as well.
And also merch.
Yes. Well, merch could be the beginning of that.
That'll be part of it. We're dipping our toes into it now. This banner is not accidental. We're very excited about it, and we will be discussing them more in the new year. But this
is so classic you and me. I'm like thinking big, huge, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, but I want people to hang this in their home.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want you to wear the hats that we're getting samples of today.
Oh, wait, what?
Interesting.
Sick.
Interesting. Because that personal touch means a lot to me.
Yep.
So yeah, that's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
That's another component of next year. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's not like anything earth shattering. It's just a slight shift of direction, a little bit of an expansion of what we'd like to tackle.
We will have more time as you and I shoot less and less weddings. We will have more time to, is ideate a verb?
It is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
To ideate, to think and create different things that we weren't before, to actually give time to the pipe dream ideas that we've had so that we can pitch people who we've always wanted on the podcast, who have felt like impossible guests. But the more and more we get involved into making content on the internet, the more and more interactions we're having with people who are, higher on that ladder, if you will.
We had a big old conversation about 2023 projects for Rally Caps that we are not going to talk about now because it has no basis in reality yet. Sure. But I mean, we are really, really, really excited for everything involving the show and what it can be and how it can expand and become a very multifaceted place to learn, place to enjoy the company of others, and really take off as its own thing.
Yep.
And I don't want to say anything more than that.
So get excited about what is coming. If you have liked Rally Caps in the past, you are going to love season 3. That's how we see the direction going as we continue to plan what is in the works. So yeah, get really pumped about that. It's always so helpful if you share this with people to get them pumped as well. If you are really into listening to our episodes, and
yeah. A little thumbs up action if you're on YouTube.
Yep.
This is fun. You can actually rate episodes on Spotify now. So that's a new feature that Spotify just rolled out. So if you're listening in Spotify, just scroll up to the top. There's a little rating section. You want to leave us all 5 stars, that'd be amazing. And while you're at it, if you want to jump to Apple Podcasts, where you've been able to give ratings forever, you can also leave a rating there and a review and everything, which, like Eric said, will help push the show out to more and more people who could really benefit from it. So if you've already done it, thank you. If you haven't, please consider doing so. And until next year, we've been Rally Caps. We're excited to see you in season 3.
2022.
2020. The second.
Is it?
No. 2022. That's what it is. Sorry.
I hope not.
I don't know about you,
but
I'm feeling 2022.
Nice.
Taylor Swift.
Okay, I know.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure.